anytime you have the opportunity to talk to new people, that's networking. So when you go to, if you're in a guild, let's say, that has movie screenings, chances are one of the two people next to you is in that guild too, because they're allowed to bring a guest, and who knows, they're probably in the industry too, because in LA, it's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So if you're invited to a dinner party and you know there are gonna be about 10 people there that you don't know, maybe your goal number is to really create a nice relationship and have good conversation with 2 people. If you know you're going to be at a big event where there are going to be 100 people, make that goal number 10. Stretch yourself, because the more people you meet, if you meet 10 people, maybe 3 of those will be really valuable contacts one day. So set that number for yourself of how many people you're going to meet. And when I mean meet, I mean that you've exchanged information, or you've Facebook friended them, however it is that you know that you can contact them again if you need to. I have so many clients who do not like to go to networking events alone. Okay, well then find yourself a wingman. Seriously, have about 4 or 5 of them so that if one's not available, you have somebody else. And not only that, but have them know like how to toot your horn. Okay, because a lot of the times we don't feel comfortable talking about our achievements and our successes, but make sure your wingman will start that conversation for you. All right. Now, another thing is, if you see yourself as shy, maybe you label yourself as shy. I mean, you're not shy with your friends or your family, but when you go to an event like this, you might be shy. So my suggestion to you is to go and find the wall. Because basically all shy people stand against the wall. So if you just start kind of moving slowly around, eventually you're gonna find somebody else, right? And then you can say, oh man, these events make me just, I always be talking to people, but, and then you have something in common and you've just broken the ice. It takes 3 conversations to create a relationship, all right? 3. You can talk to somebody once for 2 hours, they can give you life-changing advice, and you can bump into them a year later and say, oh my goodness, you completely changed my life, and they'll be like, great, who are you? And they have no idea, because chances are, if they were talking to you for 2 hours, they talk to a lot of people for 2 hours. That's just the kind of person they are. So if you have a great conversation with somebody, you want to make sure you're following up with them for a second time, and then at least a third time. And that is the whole process of getting them to know you, like you, trust you, and care about you. So in the first conversation, they're getting to know you and deciding if they like you. Then you're going to build in some kind of follow-up, which we'll talk about later, that will build the trust. And then by the third time when they see your follow through, that's when they're going to care about you. Because networking is not about, hey, I'm Jessica. What's your name? John? John, what do you do? You're a cameraman? Oh, I'm a writer. All right, what'd you last work on? Then we get that uncomfortable, what are you working on? Get that uncomfortable feeling. Instead, we want to share our stories. And I implore you to write them down and have different stories. Instead of saying, what are you working on? Because if they have something and they want to share it with you, they will. But if they don't, you put them on this weird spot to tell you, you've probably all experienced it. It's not a good feeling. But if you ask them, what's a moment that you were like totally passionate about what you did? And you were like, I would do this forever and not even get paid if they would just put a roof over my head and feed me. I would just do this. I want you guys to partner up. And I want you, whoever has the shorter hair is going to go first. And I'm going to give you each 3 minutes to share a story with your partner. And then I want your partner is going to get 1 minute to give you feedback and tell you what they learned about you from that story. And if they've nailed it, then you're right on with your story. But if you're not quite there, then if they're telling you, oh, I got this about you and that, you're like, oh, I wasn't going for that, but that's good. Or, oh, no, I wasn't really going for that. Maybe I need to tweak my story. But I want you to practice it so you get something out of your mouth. Look at this, I can't get them to stop networking. Did everybody get to go? Did you switch on your own? I want to make sure the second person goes. So first person tell them what you learned about them. And then second person, I'm going to give you 3 minutes, starting now. How many of you enjoyed hearing your partner's stories? Anybody? Anybody like their story? Oh, now we're getting hands, right? Well, you can also take those hands and pat yourself on the back because you all just successfully networked. That's all it is. It's sharing. Thank you. You must follow up. So figure out when and how you'll follow up. And I suggest that you have a follow-up plan in place for that. So you can connect on social media. You can take your phones out right then and there and say, hey, are you on Facebook? Let's connect. And right there, and it's done. And then you make a note to yourself to go onto their social media page a few times over the next month and comment. So you want to ask questions that you have something to follow up on. So if they say, oh yeah, that movie was a really great movie, say, oh, either I've never seen it or I haven't seen it in so long. I'm going to rewatch that. I'll tell you what, I'm going to watch it again and I'm going to call you and I'm going to tell you what I thought of it. Great. Now you have a reason to follow up. Or maybe you ask them about other networking events, like what other organizations are they part of? What kind of philanthropic events do they go to? What books do they recommend for such and such? Or, it could even be a restaurant. You can ask them for a restaurant recommendation, but leave with something so that you have a reason to follow up with them and say, oh, I went to that restaurant. Thank you so much. They knew who you were and they took great care of me. So build in your follow-up strategy before you leave so you know that you have a reason to follow up with your people. Give them something they can say yes to. Hey, listen, I really enjoyed talking to you. Would you be okay having a strategy meeting with me? Like sit down for coffee, I'll buy you coffee and we'll do a strategy meeting. I have a whole form that my clients take on so that they can, fill out this strategy meeting, because all of a sudden when they show up with a piece of paper, it becomes important and official. And they're like, oh my goodness, okay, yes, I want to give you the best answers to this because you're taking notes. And obviously you've talked to other people about it and I want to give you the best. So when you're asking for things they can say yes to, then you can say, okay, so when is it best to follow up with you? Like morning, afternoon, evening, and they'll tell you. And then you could say, and do you prefer text, phone, email? This way you don't go home wondering, because if you go home wondering, it's going to go something like this. You get their business card on Friday and they say, yeah, follow up with me on Monday. Okay, Monday comes and you're like, all right, he said to call on Monday. He didn't say what time, but he said to call. All right, but it's Monday. I don't know. It's probably so busy. I should probably wait until the week goes by a little bit. Okay, so Wednesday comes along, and you're like, all right, it's the middle of the week. But it's kind of like hump day, like probably everything's coming to a halt. I should wait till Friday when things chill down. So now it's Friday, and you're like, oh my goodness, it's Friday, and it's 5 o'clock. He's probably gone already. Oh, I'll just call him on Monday, and then Monday comes, and you're like, well, now I said I was going to call last week, and then a whole month goes by. And you're like, I burned the bridge. Okay, first of all, you didn't burn the bridge, okay? It's not like they were waiting by their phone wondering where you were. And you can always say, hey, listen, I know I was supposed to call you last week, but luckily I ended up, doing whatever you were doing. And so I'm calling you now. And people really aren't that petty. And again, if they are, they're not your people. So it's so important that you follow up. So I hope you will take these 5 steps to heart and recognize that if you really want to successfully network and create solid relationships where people will hire you because they'll be getting to know you and you'll be having really satisfying conversations with people where you feel authentic, where you're having fun and you're enjoying having conversations with people instead of feeling uncomfortable, then I have done my job. And I thank you very much.